All right, we are live. It's Manifest Monday, everyone. Like the best day of the week. It is incredible. We are so excited to be here with our guest, Shea. Love her. So at Purpose Pioneers, we believe that when we find meaning in our work, we experience real-time fulfillment. And we find meaning in our work when we align our actions with our purpose. That means everything we do, we tie it back, and we intentionally tie it back to why we get up in the morning, why we exist. That's where the magic happens. So what we do is every Monday we bring on a guest at 12:30, and one of our purpose pioneers in the community, someone who really thrives in their purpose, like our wonderful Shea.
Thanks.
And we bring them on to tell their story about how they found purpose, how it has aligned in their life, and how that has served them. And then we just dive into a lot of cool, crazy conversations. So we'll see where the day takes us, shall we?
Sounds good.
All right. Well, Shea is a mentor and close friend of mine. We have many deep conversations, anywhere from at Canvas to at the UCF Launchpad, to random events throughout the community. I mean, are you going to the Glow Frisbee thing a little later today?
I'm hosting a mentor meetup, so I don't get to go throw Frisbees. I'm kind of bummed.
I know. It's going to be okay. I'm going to do like half and half.
Okay.
So we'll make it work.
Okay, I like that.
And she really is someone who dives deep and isn't afraid to really go all in. And in her case, it's that word empathy. And I think it's a word that really can get looked over until you really dive into it. Because I mean, words like sympathy, I mean, all these different words, people they've lost the meaning. But if you really understand that word and what it means, you're like, wow, that's actually more profound than I ever realized. Yeah. So tell me a little bit, Shea, how that word empathy came to being for you and how it has sort of become your purpose.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. So I'm incredibly excited to be here, and hi to everyone out there. This is way fun. I'm so glad you guys are doing it. I've enjoyed watching all of the Manifest Monday guests, and I think that this just kind of like snippet in my newsfeed has just really elevated my activity online, and it's something I look forward to every Monday. So thank you.
Thank you, Shea.
Thanks for having me.
We appreciate it.
Yeah. So I think, for me, empathy really kind of came to the forefront of my life from when I can remember, when I was 5. And we were at a restaurant, and my mom was telling me that I should eat all my food. And I told her I didn't want to. And she said, well, there are actually starving children in Africa, right, who would love to have your food.
Yeah.
And this is the 80s. And so there was a lot of TV broadcasting, right, and like a lot of storytelling around what that experience looked like. And my mom did a smart thing. She went a step beyond just admonishing me to eat my food, and she actually told me a story, kind of an immersive, imaginative experience of what it might feel like to be that hungry. And so, there's 2 ways that the brain can engage in empathy. And so one is having a similar experience to overlay to the person in front of you and what they seem to be experiencing. But then the other is to have a story that was told to you, an immersive story that you can recall.
Wow.
So my mom taught me this is what empathy is, Shea, right? It's identifying with other people's suffering, and then it's taking compassionate and purposeful action in regards to what you're perceiving that experience would be, whether it's positive or negative. And so empathy just became a part of my life. I knew that I wanted to make the world a better place. I wanted to alleviate suffering. And as I've grown, I now really love applying empathy towards elevating people's experiences, right? And like moving them further into their destiny. And so I'm less focused on, just alleviating the pain, and I'm becoming equally focused on enriching the gain.
Wow. Enriching. So you could see a box, and some people just see a box and it may be empty, but you want to fill it. You want to make it immersive. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love that. That's really powerful. And what I've seen is when people talk about purpose, I mean, all of our friends, they tend to say, I want to make the world a better place. Right. Yeah. And then it's, well, how do I do that? Well, I serve others. Right. And then I feel like, and this is kind of just shaking out my head now, is that we all find our own way of doing that.
Yeah.
Right. And that's really where we sit. That's where we thrive. We call it, our sweet spot, you could say. So, so for us, it's uncovering what makes someone special and what makes them thrive, and then aligning it so they can go out and go do it. Right. That. And then for you, it's helping people really not only understand empathy, but use it as a tool to help the world be better and to help have them thrive themselves.
That's absolutely right. Teach them to systematize it and apply it in very intentional ways that move them further towards their idea of success.
That's badass.
Yeah, it's fun. I love it.
That is so cool. So how did you, I mean, you've had many, I guess, steps in your career. How did you end up creating a company that's literally systematizing and scaling empathy to help businesses thrive?
Yeah, lots of like twists and turns, right? Like I've been an ordained minister. I've been a professional horse trainer, right? I've been
what? I didn't know that part.
Yeah. I was on track to become a reconstructive surgeon. I did real estate. And I know it sounds weird and it sounds disconnected, but it really was my journey. And it was windy and it was twisty, but I was seeking out purpose, right? And in the beginning, I think it was probably a little bit more twisty and turny and windy and circling back. And because I came into adulthood with this idea that I had to like find my purpose, like the purpose. And because I had a faith background, it was kind of like this idea that like, this deity had this purpose for me, and it was my job to go hunt and find and seek and uncover. And it felt like a cat and mouse game.
What changed?
I stopped thinking that somebody somewhere out there knew my purpose.
Yeah.
And I started giving myself permission to find and fill my purpose, or a purpose for now. And expand into that space, right? And just feel it out and get involved there. And then I gave myself permission for that to evolve into another purpose, right? And so once I kind of started giving myself permission to define my purpose and let my purpose evolve and not have to say this is the purpose forever, that's when it kind of started straightening out. And now that I'm really in a place where I'm giving myself a lot of permission to evolve. And what's funny is as I give myself that permission, it actually becomes much more focused.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. And it reminds me of something we talk about a lot is if we say one truth is the final truth, then we stop living, right? Like we just stop living. And for us, we always talk about, I know Laura talks about this, Alex talks about this, we talk about this. Is it true enough? Like true enough for now.
Oh, I love that.
So it's something you can kind of live in and embrace now, but no, this isn't the final step, right? Because if I say this is my purpose, now I'm constantly, if I hear something that might allow me to rise above that purpose and shift it, now I'm pushing that away instead of embracing it. If I'm saying this is my truth, right? This is it, and I love that. It's giving yourself space, as you said, and permission, to go higher. That's a life to live.
Yeah,
that sounds good.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah, it reminds me of my purpose when I moved on from my corporate job. I was like, I believe everyone's inherently good, and I want to bring out that goodness from everyone. And now it's molded into, I believe everyone is special, and I want to show them why they're special, and then empower them to use what makes them special to serve the world.
Absolutely.
And I couldn't have gotten there if I was just saying, this is my only purpose.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And you have to walk that journey before the people that you're going to lead down that journey.
Oh, gosh.
So you gain authority in that space, and then you turn around and you give that authority to others.
Yeah, that's leadership 101 that I had to learn the hard way.
Yes.
It's hard. And it becomes kind of obvious when I'm trying to tell someone or help someone with something, and I know that I need more help than they do.
Yeah.
That comes up a lot, and that's why I really had to, the last 2 years, really take a deep dive inside. Right? Have you had any of that, recently where you've kind of went inside instead of out and had to reflect on what drives you, who you are?
Absolutely. I feel like I kind of reinvent myself in my life every couple of years, right? And so from a personal branding standpoint, I do that very intentionally, but just from a, like a spiritual and a soul perspective, right? And
Ooh, tell me more.
How much, how much deeper can I get to this idea that I am love, right? And then live from this truth and this self-belief that I am love and my purpose here is love. And how do I take that to the next level in my work, in my family, in my play, right?
Yeah.
And in order to just continue on that existence purpose for me, I have to go deep. I have to really, every 12 to 15 months, you can even see it online. Like I'll just kind of go into kind of like a hiding period where I have to reassess and reevaluate and incubate
Wow.
kind of a new version.
Is that something that you think would serve like others a lot to do?
The ones that I think I'm able to do it because I'm in community with people who do it.
Oh,
right.
Amen.
So being able to, my friends don't take it personally, right? When I do go into an internal kind of incubation period, they encourage me, they support me in it. I support them, right? And so it becomes this really nice ebb and flow to relationship and stuff, trying to always maintain some specific level of business activity or personal relationship activity.
Yeah. That kind of reminds me of before the show, we were talking about metrics that matter, right? And I think about this a lot with friendships.
Okay.
And
I like where this is going.
It's fun. Like, I think you're going to like it. And a lot of times people have different metrics of what they think is makes a good friendship.
Yes.
Right. And I think about my best friend, Anthony Worms, and he's been my best friend since 9th grade, but we see each other maybe 3-4 times a year tops. Right around there. I mean, we'd love for it to be more, but we don't value time spent together as like that's what makes us good friends. We're not good friends because of how much we hang out, because you invite me every weekend to the events. He can do his own thing, I do my own thing, and it's okay. And that's okay because we are much deeper in our friendship.
That's beautiful.
Where we just know as long as we both align with the same values and are pursuing our dreams, and we know we have love for each other in our heart, then that's a strong friendship.
Absolutely. And I think you hit on the point of, this idea of like aligning with values. So I want to work and I want to play and I want to live with people where our values, they don't have to be the exact same. They have to be pretty compatible, right? Because that's how we prioritize our resources. So it's been really, really beautiful just the past probably 2.5 to 3 years. I moved from Kansas City.
Welcome.
And, thank you.
I thought you were always here.
I was, and then I moved, and I came back, and moved, and came back, and all that good stuff. So I was back since January 2013, and it was this commitment I made to myself that I would surround myself with people that were value-based and value-driven and conscious of their values. And that alone really seems to help us be able to navigate when values might be in conflict.
Right.
And then become creative problem solvers together.
Yeah, I think about that as like, how did I choose friends in high school? It was like who was sitting next to me, or like who wanted to go to the party that Friday. Right. I mean, and it worked for a little bit, but it's true. Like now, as both of us are getting older and more experienced, it's now how do I choose friends? It's values based. Are you someone who believes in just being your goofy self? Are you someone who does want to make the world a better place? Are you someone who wants to wake up and grow, like actually grow, or just someone who wants to kind of get by? And it's true. It's true. I love that values become these filters to make decisions.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, which includes who we spend our time with. And I think that another thing that's been really liberating as I've gotten out of my 20s, my 30s are amazing. Everybody, like, if you're in your 20s and you're scared of your 30s, they're the best. And I'm going to anticipate my 40s are going to be my best, and then my 50s. But I really feel like letting people come and go in our lives. Right? And just kind of appreciating when they're there.
Yeah, and it's okay.
And it's okay that we're not friends forever necessarily, right? I think that's made a much higher quality of experience for me and those people who have come and gone.
I love that.
Yeah. And so that wasn't something I was really taught growing up. I was kind of taught like, well, your friends or your family, and that's for life. And those are the people you always prioritize. But as we create ourselves and we evolve, what if we outgrow that old skin? It doesn't fit us anymore, but it still fits them.
Wow.
And then, you've got to have that freedom to like let your paths kind of diverge naturally, right? When it's in pursuit of each of your ideas of success.
And the question is, does it serve us?
Yes.
Does it serve us to let that divergence happen?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's okay. Like, I mean, really I even think about ex-girlfriends, right? And I still love them, but it's okay that we diverted.
Absolutely.
It's serving us.
And is it possibly this huge act of love to allow the divergence so that you're neither of you are stunting one another or holding one another back?
That's deep.
Yeah.
So question, to bring it back here. What about empathy in business, right? So, and how does that tie? Because we're moving into the purpose economy. Right? It's an economy where meaning is the most valuable currency, where people are buying things because it lines up with who they are, what they believe in. It makes them be able to make the world a better place, things like that. How does empathy serve that economy?
Oh, my goodness. So,
I mean, it's pretty.
I love it.
Just tell me everything.
Just team me up for success, man.
Yeah, I got you back.
So, in this idea of like an economy, right? you're looking for value. You're looking at the value exchange.
Mhm.
So you're saying, like, what are the ingredients for this economy that create value exchange? And that requires, especially in this idea of a purpose economy, it requires that identification with another person's hopes and wants and fears, right? And
Yes.
limitations. And then compassionate action, right? And decisive action around what those other people are feeling and experiencing. So empathy is actually really turning out to be kind of a lead, not only differentiator, but a huge competitive advantage for the companies we work with that actually are systematizing empathy, both for their teams and for their customers and for their strategic partners. Because they're able to create these win-win-win-win scenarios in their team culture or in their marketing activities or in their business partnerships, because they are leveraging empathy.
Wow. So because they are empathetic in their customer relationships, they now better understand how to help serve their customer.
Absolutely.
They can help them achieve what they're trying to do in life, help them progress in the job they're trying to do, as we say it technically.
And what's really interesting is there's not kind of like okay, guys, we're going to be really empathetic for this month. We're going to figure out what the market needs, and then we're going to do it, right? And then we're going to go and do that for the next 10 years. Because there are these like exponential social shifts that are happening, right? And this globalization, right? What people want and need and hope for and are afraid of is changing pretty rapidly.
Amen.
And so it's really key that we embed empathy inside of our businesses and inside of our organizations so that by default we're staying connected and we're staying attached and we're staying hyper aware and vigilant to those changing.
You're not having to like stay connected consciously. It's kind of like a subconscious system that's happening.
Right. And so you can actually build that awareness and that that comprehension into your business processes so that it's not like this personally emotionally draining experience for the people in the business.
Have you thought about what you're doing is you're taking it from the conscious to the subconscious? Like
yes, that's it. Absolutely.
When you're consciously thinking about empathy, it's like, okay, I'm making a point to be empathetic today. But subconsciously, it's like, it's just happening.
Yes. So that's our systems are built so that first it's a conscious choice, right? To use these systematic empathetic activities, right? Employ these systems. But then because of the nature of change, once that's embedded, once you get those muscles going, then it moves back to the subconscious. And now it is just a natural overflow and expression of who the company is.
It's like driving a car, right? In the beginning, I'm like,
oh gosh,
I'm consciously putting my blinker on, but now I forget that I even have blinkers.
Now you're touching and driving. And you're...
Oh yeah, of course. Now I'm actually like tweeting. And all that. Wow, that's powerful, and it reminds me of purpose. Yeah, it reminds me of purpose because what we say is it doesn't happen overnight. But when you can build it into your core, then all of a sudden you don't have to keep up with innovations.
Exactly.
You don't have to keep up with anything.
That is exactly
it's naturally happening.
That is exactly it.
Happening.
You nailed it.
And at the core of that is sustainable organizations.
That's right.
Do you want to be sustainable?
Yep.
You need purpose and empathy.
That's right.
In your organization.
That's right.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah,
Alex, remember we were talking about this. Yeah.
We can only attend to a certain number of conscious activities. Right? The human brain is actually kind of weak, right? There's all these days that we don't actually multitask. And so if I'm having to think of like, okay, Shea, don't punch Thomas in the face during this interview, right? Like, how am I
I'll
going
give you
to,
one shot.
how am I going to, reference kind of some of the stories and the other conversation threads that we're having? So if we can put a little bit of effort into learning empathy and systematizing it, then it can pretty quickly move back to kind of a subconscious natural
Have you used
overflow.
that kind of narrative before?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. 'Cause we're going to start using that narrative.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do it.
Just the conscious to the subconscious. That's huge. And you call it systematizing. A word we've been toying around with is operationalizing.
Okay, I like that.
You like that?
Yeah, I do.
And then another cool word is that Angela likes. All of the co-founders, Purpose Pioneers are around us, by the way. Everyone's like glaring and fantastic, / like getting stuff done, is actualizing.
That's a yummy word.
but what we try to do is like meet people halfway, which is something you do. Remember we were talking about how you have to have all that research and stuff. Is we've been trying to meet people halfway in terms of in terms of how we say things.
Yeah.
Because if we stay up in the clouds, it probably won't serve us.
Yeah, because your purpose is to help other people identify with their purpose and act out of their purpose.
Exactly.
And so people who are already doing that, they can absolutely get
Exactly.
better at it with you. And, I really feel like you guys are working on a movement and you're trying to kind of awaken that spirit of purpose-driven living, right, in others. And so you've got to have language that meets them halfway.
Yeah.
Right. And then moves into the next stage.
The next stage. But you know how we do that?
How?
Empathy.
My man.
It's true. Like, we have had to really double down on how companies talk and what their goals are and what their needs are and what their pains are. Truly empathize with and get in their frame of mind so we can communicate the right way. Right. I'm like now having a conversation with one of my co-founders and get them on board because we know it's something that works and it's something we think about all day and every day, but someone else might not. Right. But a lot of times we get so caught up in our own minds, we think everyone else has the same dang mind as we do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Founderitis, man.
We're still like throwing up on people, like throwing up rainbows of our mission statement.
And just assuming that everybody understands our value proposition because we understand it so well.
Oh my gosh, that's so powerful. Something too we were talking about before the show is diversity, and it's something I wanted to touch on really quick because we were saying, diversity is a beautiful thing. Diversity of thoughts, experiences, ideas, backgrounds, just having this prismatic group of people. This is a term Shea used before, prismatic. It was wonderful. But if it's just that, if it's just a lot of different people with a lot of different experiences, it's not enough. So what is that needed piece? I'm teeing you off.
You are, because I'm pretty sure that you brought that ingredient to the table in our conversation earlier. And that's that idea of, how are we the same? Where are we one? Where are we connected? We have more in common than we have in difference. So my kind of proposition for consideration, right? I'm not going to push it out there yet, but I'm curious if we were to really advocate hard and push hard, to ratify and celebrate our oneness, right? Our sameness, and build allowances, right? And space for the differences and the diversity to be expressed. Would that scenario help us to unlock the true benefits of diversity better?
Woo! I think that you just put like the beautiful words around what I've been thinking for like 2.5 years.
Okay.
In that, a lot of times we double down so much on what makes us different,
right?
And what we focus on, we manifest, right?
Yep.
What if we all just said, what makes us the same?
Yeah.
What are the 3 things at the core that make us the same?
Yeah.
And we just really honed in on that.
Yeah.
And it would subconsciously create space for our differences.
Absolutely.
And it reminds me of TEDx Orlando. We're both on the TEDx Orlando team, right? Go TEDx.
Go TEDx.
Is that I remember being backstage.
Okay.
And there were producers, there were people running cables, there were speakers practicing for their big moment. There was me just wandering around, right? There was so many different people doing so many different things, and no one complained. Everyone was there for 13 hours. No one ever, when there were disagreements, they were immediately solved.
Yep.
And it was because we were doubling down on, we believe in TEDx. We believe that sharing ideas that matter and creating space for those is going to make the world a better place. So we're going to do everything in our goddamn power to bring this to life.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Everything. So everyone there had a common purpose. So everything worked, and we were all vastly different. I didn't know anyone, but we knew all each other.
You were a unit. You were like a fully functioning organism running forward.
Yes.
So what's so amazing about that is it builds empathy. So when you and I have shared identification, now I'm willing and able to have empathy for your divergent experiences and your divergent perspectives.
I think it goes beyond willingness. I think you're incentivized.
I think you're right about that.
It creates an incentive. So instead of us telling each other that we must be empathetic or we must understand what you don't understand what he went through, you got to understand. It's less of that kind of like mean, and it's more now because we both believe in the same thing, we're working towards something. I know it will benefit me to really understand you, and it incentivizes me to want to not only get to know your differences but embrace them.
That's right, because it really is ultimately for your benefit too.
Holy smokes. The win-win-win-win-win.
That's right. Win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win.
Wow, that's amazing. So I think we covered a lot of amazing things. The last thing I would say is, what's one thing you want to leave the audience with? What's one feeling maybe that's come up for you recently, or a message you think that the world needs to hear Doesn't have to be necessarily profound, but just what's coming up for you right now.
Yeah, so every time I'm around you, a certain kind of like message and principle and value comes forward for me, and that's this idea that we are nature.
Oh, yes.
Right?
I love this one.
This is where you and I think really connect energetically really well.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is I think that we've spent so much time trying to live outside the laws of nature, right, and above the laws of nature, that perhaps it could really serve us well if we were to look back more at the laws of nature and look back more at the way nature does things. And could we pattern businesses after natural organisms? Could we pattern social structures after natural structures, right? Could we make more natural choices that are aligned with nature? That's what I would love to hear. Any feedback, comments, thoughts on this idea that we are nature, right? We clearly are organic beings. And so how can we live together more in line with nature?
Wow. And that makes me feel like whenever I'm not in line with nature, I always feel a bit of a gap, a bit of a tension. And that's why
it feels unnatural.
And that's why Alex and I, one of our co-founders, are going to Denver in 5 days. Back to Denver, rather, is, I know. You can come on, get a little like frontier flight or something, just hop on board. And there's something about being out there where everything I was once worried about kind of melts away. It melts away. And all of a sudden, I feel like I'm more human than I've ever been. Right? And it just gets away from all of the stuff I make up about the past and the future, and all of a sudden presence is glowing. It's just living in that presence. It reminds me, I was like sitting on this rock and my buddies wanted to keep moving, and I was just like, no, I'm not going anywhere. And it was that moment. And I think there's something about that, and that's why people in Denver are probably so dang happy.
I know. When I'm in that place, I feel more centered in my purpose. I have greater clarity in my purpose. I have greater inspiration to live out my purpose, and I feel more connected to humans in nature.
Wow. That's why Angela, another one of our co-founders, wants to like build an office around a big tree.
I'm in.
I mean, I don't think we have a choice. She signed on with that in the contract. So
nice.
Yeah. And then I think for me is I want to let people know about how much it can serve you, and how much it served me to surround myself intentionally with the right people.
Absolutely.
Like being around Shea is a prime example. Like whenever we communicate, I begin to float, right? And there's something about like you make me feel like I'm more worthy, and I can do more things, and I can more achieve whatever it is I need to do. Alex and Angela make me feel the exact same way. And I've never felt more like that in my life. So it's true. Who you surround yourself with can really shape your identity. So I'm glad you're around me.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here. Thanks, guys. It was really fun.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And our cheesy line here is that the only way you can live in true fulfillment is to be the change you want to see. So if this message moved you in any way, if you felt affected by it in a positive way, and you want the world to know, please share this, because it starts with you. It starts with you being the change. It starts with one share, with one voice, with one message, and you can be that person. So thank you so much for watching, everyone, and go Purpose Pioneers.
Woo.
Peace out.